Hello everyone. Today we'll be talking about animation films and where animation films are like as a project is starting. So there comes problem solving and basically problem solving in sense of animation is basically when you are choosing a story for your animation project, then or a idea, not only story. So whenever you are choosing an idea or a story for your animation project, then there is a it's not suddenly you choose that story, right? So there is like multiple option in the world, like world is full of stories and ideas. So when you are choosing certain story or certain film, certain idea, so why you are choosing that? So from where, what are the journey of yours, what are the thought process you are going through to reach that level, that where you decide that you want to do that film, or you want to do that film on that story or on that idea. So in that process you had certain things in your mind that you need to understand what are the specific things you are drawn by, so that you want to select that story as your project. So those are some factors which matters, and there you actually need to do a lot of research and a lot of probably practical thinking, that what are the possibilities, what are the difficulties, what are the like when you will do it, how much like it will be, like what is your thinking in that way, is that story falling into the line or not. So suppose you want to tell a funny story, or a very humorous story, so you are thinking about, you have certain things in your mind. So you will think about, okay, this story has a very slapstick thing in nature, so should I go for it, is that the thing I am searching for, or it's like a subtle sarcastic humor or something like that. So all these things matters, like when you choose a story. So those are comes under the part where you think about it and you kind of solve that problem, that how you reach to an idea, and when you like stick to that idea, and like that idea will go for the further process. So there, and animation, of course, although for a student they can work alone, but animation as a medium, it's a teamwork. So when you are working with a team, so you need to have certain things in your mind, and it should be very clear, so that whom you are working with, you can make them understand, and all of them can be in the same page. So it's always necessary to have those background research and thinking process while you are choosing your project. So suppose you choosing a project, you will think about why you are choosing it, whom you are making the film for, and what you want to achieve. So those are the very crucial question you need to ask yourself when you are choosing some certain projects. So yeah, these are the basic things. So let's see our student Aditi's work. She had done like a film, and she will share her experience, and like how she come up with that idea, what are the dilemmas she had. So let's start with her, what she has to say. So yeah, thank you.
So what this is going to be like the documentation plus like the entire process of my currently going on this classroom project which I was working on this semester. So, what I wanted to work on, I knew from the beginning, one thing I wanted to work on was a folk tale. So, the first process was to decide what story I wanted to work on. So, I had to, like, narrow down maybe some things that I have heard from when I heard from other people, something that, maybe my mother told me before, something that I had read in books. So, the first thing was to find stories and write this, like basically write the scripts down for each of the stories and see whether, they would be good or not. So one story I settled on two options after going through a couple of them. Two options is what I settled on. First one was this. There's this one story of three brothers who learn the importance of teamwork as they need to save the kingdom to heal their father. The another option was a story from the northeast about the legend behind these waterfalls called the Nokalikai waterfalls. So after going through both the stories, I realized that the second story did not have any it was just a story. Some stories they just are without any you don't infer anything much from it. Yeah, it's a legend, and that's why these waterfalls are named so and so because of this. Secondly, I knew this wouldn't work because for an animated film, I mean, obviously there are like different subcategories, but then it depends on what you want to do. I felt this was a bit morbid to submit for, to present as well for like a project, because it has a lot of death and pretty graphic descriptions of it, which would be also difficult to work on. So I finally settled on this one story.
Hi, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about now about ideation. Okay. So first stage is understanding the problem. So once we have understood the problem, we have the problem statement. We come to the second part, which is what? Which is empathizing. Empathizing is basically understanding the context. And then we come to ideation, which is a very, very important and exciting part of the entire journey of design thinking, I think. So, what is ideation? So now you have to understand that the animators are very visual people. They want to make things move. They want to animate. So for them, everything and anything is possible, right? So they ideate in a little, in a large context of things. So we don't really restrict ourselves to what is realistic, what is realistically achievable, and all that, but we try to reach beyond and ideate. So, ideate, what do we understand that? Ideation is a stage where we are thinking about possibilities. Okay. So now we know the problem. We know is our user, to whom we are serving this. So we know where to reach, right? Now we don't know how to reach there. So this how to reach and with all what all to reach there is what we try and understand in the ideation stage. Okay. So there are a lot of approaches. Design doesn't work with one approach. Design has several approaches, and that is the wondrous thing about design, that it has several approaches in it, and different people can approach it in a different way. But you have to keep in mind that animation is a team work, so everybody has to ideate, but then it has to come to a point where we go ahead with only one kind of an approach, right? So that is the fun of ideation, I think, and from of animators perspective or domain. Okay. So I will talk about two kinds of ideation. One is ideation A, is divergence. Divergence is when we kind of think aloud and keep thinking and thinking, and we kind of go out. We reach out. Okay. That is a first step where we don't leave aside any alternative. It's either one, two, three, four, five, six, like that. We go on and on, trying to understand what can be the possibilities, okay, to address a problem. So these are the possibilities through which this one problem that is in front of us can be solved, okay, or can be addressed or can be reached, okay. So that is the divergence stage. That is the first stage. Now coming to the second stage, which is the convergence stage. So we can't just spread out and then we can't, really tackle it. So we have to pull out the best practice out of it, pull out the best solution from it. So that is where we converge. So that is a second point. Okay. So first is divergence, whenever we are ideating, and the second is convergence. So when we are converging, we are pulling out the best way or the best road or the best means to how by which we can reach that particular solution. So now you'll see we'll have a video of one of our students, Aditi, who will be sharing her work, which is again the process. For any designer, the process is very important. The final product may or may not be as we want it, but the process has to be right to reach there. So in design thinking, if the prototype doesn't work, that is our testing doesn't work, we come back to the stage of empathy and ideation again. So that is a fun that it goes on in a cycle. So but the process is what is the most challenging, and the process is the most exciting part of our design thinking and any kind of design intervention. Okay, so Aditi is going to tell you about how once she zeroed down on a story on from a Chinese culture. Now then she had to do a lot of research. Like as I told you, that is where when we do the research, we understand the context, we understand, we have the insights into the problem. Okay, and we try to put it into a perspective, as we call it. uh, this is the background in which we try to understand the problem. So next, when we come to ideation, then we are trying to do lot of things. Like we are understanding how to do the character design. We are trying to see what style treatment we'll have. We'll see what color scheme we apply. We'll see how workable is the models that we are making. So all that Aditi will talk about once, one after other. You will listen to that. Maybe she chooses a particular color, but that color has to have a connotation, that is a meaning in that culture. So red is very important for Chinese. So how she considered using red, and how what particular character is in red, one is in purple, why yellow, what is the significance of yellow in that culture. So while we are ideating, we are constantly thinking about all these possibilities. Okay, should the characters be realistic? Now here you'll see that Aditi has used characters which are puppet like. So these puppets are important. They are in certain in, and then you have to also keep in mind how workable is your ideation. Like you can't keep on making things which at the animators level, at the technical level, or at the workable level you can't work. So Aditi has also talked about how she rejected ideas because they were not workable solutions. So as I won't give out everything at one go, but you discover as Aditi and others will try and demonstrate to you as to how the stages work in which we ideate with so much fun and then we reach to the conclusion. Okay, good luck, and I hope you have fun while you ideate. Okay, thank you so much.
The next step was the research. So this was a very important part in making the film because this story is something which is not from my culture, and I'm borrowing elements from another culture, so it has to be pretty accurate. So while deciding the visual style and all of that, you have to keep in mind a lot of things. Like when I chose the style of early Han style architecture and the clothing that all the characters wear. So you see right from the like the structures of the hall, the story. There'll be a bed in there which has the carvings of the wood and all of that, the arches, the rooms, everything, as well as the colors, because they had certain rules that were solely for example, only nobles and royals were allowed to wear the color yellow, as well as only emperors were allowed to don something called a dragon robe, which is basically a robe with a dragon motif in front of it, which is in the royal color of yellow. So, keeping all that in mind, you had to design something that was accurate, as well as it would be something you would be able to do. Like you could design something super, super complicated that would be very accurate, but at the same time, since you have to animate it, it might not work. So there were a couple of like designs that I went through. Like this one over here is the one with the Mandarin collar was the easiest to animate, but at the same time, it didn't have the feeling that I was going for. It didn't have the regal look to it. So the one over here, which is the biggest, is what I decided to use, as well as a bit of research on the patterns and like how they made their clothing. The next thing, once this is done, I had to think about the color palette of the film. As I mentioned before, I wanted it had to be it had to so there were certain rules that you had to follow, but at the same time, I wanted like it could I wanted my film to have a royal feeling, so I went with the traditional colors of red, blue, and yellow with a high saturation of uh, to keep that bright feeling. The next thing was the visual style. So earlier it was decided that I wanted the characters to be like Chinese puppets. So they had puppets are like, they are a physical, it's a physical object. And then I wanted, while you're looking at something on the screen, you want to have that sense of tangibility, which is why I added like a texture of the fabric, and then a bit of texture of, like, the paper that they use on their skin for the puppets. And the rule was that the puppets always are at a 3/4 angle, so that all of the limbs are seen. So I mixed that along with with my style, which was animated in 2D.
Mm, yeah, hello guys. Uh, uh, I'm gonna tell you something about uh, design documentation and the presentation, the necessity of these things in animation, domain of animation. So, first of all, this is making an animation film or short film. It's like parallel filmmaking. So it has different departments, domains, protocols, and also the folder structures and all. So this is a complex form of projects. So we need to document it. Otherwise, everything will get messed up when we go into the detail of the project. So for an animation film, there are certain stages and steps, so which we need to follow to execute it well. So first, there are different departments like pre-production, production, and post-production. In pre-production, first we need to select a synopsis, then make a story for that, and then we need to make the script of that story. And for after the script, we need to make the visual script, that is called storyboard in animation field. So these things we need, when we do this in structured form with proper names, proper folders, uh, making proper protocols, then it is uh, like a documentation actually we need to do. So I'm going to show you one example. So this is the design documentation of Reshmi. This is the name of the project with a relevant background from the project, and see all the documentation done here for the future advantage of the project. So see all the medium, softwares, theme, target audience, location, all are documented here. After that, the background stories and all, I mean, related to the project. So this is the reference and the inspiration, what uh, she got. She documented all things, the all visual things, the inspirations, the references, what she needed for her project. After that, this is the flowchart, script flowchart. So how uh, things will go one after another. And now this is the script. So the technical things are there, the script. So the long, short, location, this actually are the script format with the courier font. So she written all the script uh, according to that. The scene number, the shot numbers, everything is there. And then the thumbnail of the visuals, I mean, how she visualized those things, the style, the art form, the locations and all. She just did some uh, backstage preparation, that is called the thumbnailing. So these are the very rough designs ideas. And then this is called the storyboard. She just uh, made all those visual one after another, which will be seen in the film, the final film. So this is the rough of that. This is called the storyboard. Now we are coming to the look and feel. So the how it looks with colors, the textures, the look and feel what she wants. She did that. and also the expressions of the character, how it looks with different expressions like happy, sad, uh, uh, angry, those kind of thing, crying. So she also make the final of those. Now the poses, I mean how the pose will look in, when it's executed in the film. So these are the thing, this is also the background, how the background look. We need to make a plan for that as well. She did that, the rough designing first, and then these are the cleaned up designs, and then the final color output, what exactly we'll see in the final film. So this is the final look. So this is the animatic she made. Animatic is something which is the rough storytelling in a video format. So just to get the look, the feel, the storytelling and all, the staging, those kind of things, we need animatic. So it has to be rough. It shouldn't be very cleaned up and proper. We just need the proper understanding for the film. This is how one should make. So this is the animatic part. So after the animatic, we need to make the final film with the help of this animatic. So there's some more clips, examples of the animation. So this is the first shot, the proper animations with colored one, the finished product. Uh, the girl actually, the colors and all yet to be done, but the line quality and inking, the animations are there, proper animations. So these are the stages, one after another, uh, we need to execute and uh, to get the final product.